everybody. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by CJ Vogel, who's on site there at DKR. You can see it in the background pretty clearly. CJ, Steve Sarkisian stepped to the mic just a few minutes ago. You were there asking questions as a member of the media. Before we get to you, though, we want to hear the opening statements from Steve Sarkisian post-Colorado State here on Monday. Matt Hutchison, our producer, will you please take it away? Let's hear from Steve Sarkisian.
Give a shout out to our fans, our students, Longhorn Nation. That was a great turnout. We 2:30 kick August 31st is not easy on anybody. So from the walking Bevo Boulevard to getting in the state, to seeing how many people stayed till the end to sing the eyes, that was really cool. And so I want to give them a shout out. I thought from a team perspective, especially having a chance to see a few of these other first games of the season for some other people, man, I was proud of our team of just playing a clean football game. We didn't have personal foul penalties. We didn't have 12 on the field. We didn't have 10 on the field. Our guys played a clean game, and I think that's a credit to the staff. I think that's a credit to the leadership of our guys. Just some highlights coming from the game. 5 players scored their first touchdown for Texas Saturday, which was a cool thing. 8 different players ran the football for us Saturday. 28 different players had a tackle for us Saturday. 31 players played for their first game for the University of Texas Saturday. 51 players in the first half played. 77 total players played in the ball game. I think total 12 different guys caught passes, 10 in the first half. So I think it just speaks to the depth that we have on the team, and it was great that a lot of guys got to play. That was the goal going in. But as a coach, it was to see them play a clean game in a first game is always challenging. So that was that. Obviously moving forward to Michigan, ton of respect for this program, for this team. You don't go to 3 straight college football playoffs if you don't have a great program, and they've got a great program. Obviously capping it off last year, being national champs. I think about some things about this team. They're 41-3 in their last 44 games. They've won 16 games in a row. They've won 23 straight home games. So these guys know how to win. You can see it in their style of play. They play with a great deal of confidence. They believe in one another. So it's a heck of a challenge for our team. But this is why you come to Texas, is to play in games like this. And to think this is the first time in the history of college football that Texas is going to play Michigan in the regular season is pretty awesome and pretty humbling to be part of that. And so we're definitely looking forward to the opportunity.
Good stuff there from the head ball coach, Steve Sarkisian, on Monday afternoon there at DKR. CJ, I tell you what, he talked about all those newcomers getting their first touchdowns or the first plays, the total number of players that played. One of them, it was his second game to start, but Cam Williams, big Cam Williams, named SEC Lineman of the Week for his performance against Colorado State. What did Sark have to say about Cam Williams and the big OL this past week?
Yeah, first off, credit to Cam Williams for stepping in, starting, and also receiving some recognition from the SEC conference, right? We'd been talking about how impressive he had been so far in fall camp. That obviously carried over to some nice recognition there. Sarkisian, again, kind of gave him some credit, gave Torrey Becton a lot of credit for the way in which he's completely changed his body composition. And that's one of the more notable things for folks that had followed Cam Williams out of high school. He's a guy that was pushing 350, 360 at times. He's down to 335. And we saw how nimble and agile he could be. Sarkisian says each Monday or Sunday evening, they get the team together and they show the good, the bad, and the ugly, and things that they got to work on. They want to highlight some good plays. One of the plays that they did, in fact, highlight was Cam Williams reaching the second level, the backside linebacker from the right tackle. So imagine that, he reaches the left linebacker from where he is at the second level to create a lane for Jaden Blue to run through. Really impressive stuff. One of the highlights of the afternoon that they showed to the entire team. And I think Sarkisian said that there were a number of guys that were pretty impressed with how quickly he could move for a guy his size. So credit to Cam Williams. And again, Texas feels like they have 2 really, really talented NFL caliber offensive tackles, and it showed up on Saturday.
I tell you what, they're going to need him. That's good that Cam Williams has some confidence going into Ann Arbor because, and I know, The Wolverines have some nasty dudes up front on defense in particular this year, but hats off to Cam Williams. CJ, want to go to you next. What were your overall takeaways? We'll go and we've got some things you and I discussed prior that we're going to go over individually, but your overall takeaway from Sark and his presser today.
Yeah, definitely. Sark's excited for this game. I mean, we hear about it all the time. It's almost one of those things, Bobby. Anytime you hear about the pomp and the pageantry of college football, we know we're listening to Steve Sarkisian. He didn't mention that today, but he did mention a game like Texas versus Michigan. You know, the first time for it to have been played in a regular season matchup is great for the sport. It's something that he's very excited about. And it's something that he, has mentioned in the past. You come to Texas to play in these games, right? For Fox Noon, big kickoff or whatever it is, to be at the game, for all these eyes to be expecting a top 10 matchup between Texas, a top 5 team, and Michigan, the defending national champions. It's like, yeah, this is one of the big recruiting pitches that we have. Come to Texas to be a part of a game like this, to be a part of an environment like this. He's excited for it. Of course, he's familiar with Wink Martindale, from a previous stint in the past, so he knows the defense that they have. But more than anything, for it to be an 11 a.m. kick, for the entire country to start their afternoon watching this game, he's very excited for it. Of course, they showcased a lot of depth. And also, Bobby, they've been preparing for this game for quite some time. I thought it was really interesting. Sarkisian mentioned, preparation maybe hasn't officially started until today for Michigan, but there are bits and pieces of the Texas game plan that have been implemented in fall camp that are designed to be used for Michigan. And Sarkisian said that one of those parts was, of course, we've laid the groundwork for some of the, base personnel packages and schemes that we want to use. We maybe didn't use them against Colorado State, but we're going to unveil them against Michigan. So the preparation has been in place for quite some time, not just this week coming up.
I love that, getting ready for Alex Orji. I don't think that they were getting ready for Davis Warren, though, the walk-on quarterback that started for Michigan on Saturday. Alex Orji, a native Texan out of the Metroplex, was expected to be their starter. Look, it's going to be a big game. And like you said, Sark is one of those guys that kind of he pays due respect to college football and what it means for Texas to head up to Ann Arbor. Hey, CJ, one of the more interesting pieces I thought from the press conference was the collaboration he talked about and the changes he talked about with Pete Kwiatkowski and Johnny Nansen and how they are working together to provide different looks for this Texas defense. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think we saw some of those, instant impressions from Johnny Nansen being on the staff against Colorado. It wasn't a lot. You'll certainly see more as Texas gets deeper into its bag of tricks later this year. But I thought you and Rod actually broke it down very well, right? That 6 defensive back package with Anthony Hill being the lone linebacker on 3rd and longs. It was a 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 14 situation where you saw, Jalen Gilbo drop to a 3 high safety look. Saw Jade Barron move into the box. We also saw some bear packages, right? 3 down defensive linemen, 2 edges, and 2 linebackers on running downs. So it was interesting the way in which they, kind of deployed those packages. He said, listen, it's a great collaboration between Johnny Nansen and Pete Kwiatkowski. It's exactly how Sarkisian envisioned, with 2 very high intellectual defensive minds collaborating and working with one another. Sarkisian actually had some pretty interesting things to say. He said, you know what? I know that they're defensive guys. I'm going to let them have their game plan, but I will sit there and talk with them about how I envision the game going, making sure that we're not blindsided by a change in pace, by a change in game, approach by opposing offenses. If they want to go quickly, we have to have something to counter that. If they drag things out, snap within 5 seconds of every snap count, we have to have a way to figure that out as well. Above everything else, Sarkisian says the depth and the number of guys that they were able to get on the field, Bobby, is one way that they're going to be able to continue to deploy some of these exotic looks, right? Texas played a lot of defensive backs. The versatility of a Barron, a Gilbo, Jelani McDonald allows them to deploy several different packages defensively that you'll see against a number of different looks that they have on the schedule this year. But really encouraging going up against a team like Michigan, which is kind of a complete opposite of what was expected against Colorado State. Texas did get some of those run-heavy packages in there to get some run against a live opponent.
All right, before we go in, he also talked about Quinn Ewers. We need to talk about that. But before we do, we're going to say this Sark presser reaction piece brought to you by our friends over at Autograph, the app that curates the best content, tickets, and gear to help you fan to your full potential. Being a fan is a full-time job, so Autograph does the heavy lifting. From tickets for big matchups to breaking news, Autograph, the app, has curated content for fans of all things Texas. Use code ONTexas to download for free on Google Play or the Apple App Store today. That's ONTexas. Use that code for Autograph, the app. Thank you to them for sponsoring this. CJ, you're on site there at DKR. Got to say this. Good stuff today coming out of Steve Sarkisian. One of the more revealing answers I thought was what he thought of Quinn Ewers and his third-year starter at quarterback.
Yeah, it's more of the same for Quinn, right? He's cool, calm, collected, doesn't get over his skis very often. You normally don't see him get too fired up or passionate on the field, though he is a very passionate football player. After the interception, Sark told a quick story about that game and the interception. He climbed the pocket, and as he came back to the sideline, he just kind of looked at him, shrugged his shoulders, and said, "Hey, I was just trying to throw the football away." And Sarkisian said it didn't change the way he went out and played the next series or the next drive or the next quarter. He was the same even-keeled guy. It's very much what we know about Quinn, and Sarkisian, again, applauded him for the way in which he played on Saturday, right? It was only really two throws that weren't catchable in Sark's eyes. It was the corner route to Matthew Golden, which maybe had a timing issue, and he threw a ball over Gunnar Helm's head on a corner route again. So to me, Sarkisian kind of looking at that and saying, yeah, Quinn put the ball where it needed to go. He was on time. He picked the right wide receivers time and time again. It was a great debut for Ewers despite that one turnover. And he's excited moving into Michigan for a guy who's already played in big-time environments. This is one in which he's expecting to be well equipped for going up to Ann Arbor for the second time in his career as a quarterback.
Yeah, I was going to say he was on that Ohio State team that went up there, right? The other thing I would say to this and about Quinn, I liked how he called him like chill or more relaxed. I thought that, and I think that is something you need in your quarterback going on the road in particular. I mean, it helps in every situation, but on the road a year ago, I thought Quinn was maybe ahead of schedule in how he acted during that game and played during that game. We need him to be able to do that again this week if he wants, and if Texas wants to win this game and can win this game against a team, to Steve Sarkisian's credit, hey, they don't lose at home. 23 straight. They've been on a roll a little bit of late. What does Sark have to say about the playmakers? 5 different guys scored touchdowns. What did he say about that group, the receivers, and maybe some of the DBs as well who stepped up and created some turnovers?
Yeah, of course. 5 Longhorns scored their first touchdowns. He said there was 12 guys that got to touch the football. A number of guys who really made their first impression as Longhorns. 31 actually appeared in their first game as a Texas Longhorn. For the playmakers specifically, he said, you know what, maybe there were some plays that they would have liked to have seen completed. Of course, there were a few drops. It would have been a tough play over the middle for Isaiah Bond to pull that ball in. Jaden Blue maybe on the jugs machine a little bit this week as well. But Sarkisian was very pleased, and he looks at it as to get those guys all into the game and to get them touches and to really get them acclimated to the offense. It's going to bode very well for the Longhorns long term this year, of course, to have that depth. You never know when you're going to need that next guy to stand up. We've already seen it at the running back position. But, of course, one thing he did say about Jarrett Gibson is he runs hard. And we saw that on display on Saturday. Texas feels good about the 3 running backs that were playing on Saturday as well. So, moving forward, just being able to utilize those guys in interesting, different niche roles at times. Texas should feel very confident about the guys that they throw out at any given moment on a Saturday afternoon.
All right. What about it was an interesting kind of comment, like almost like a sidebar comment about playing against teams like Michigan in the preseason. And now that you have the college football playoff, it's not necessarily a do or die. This game isn't. So if you lose, your season isn't over. If you win, though, it definitely puts you and propels you into a different kind of conversation and maybe give you an extra out in the conference play. What does Sark have to say about that? What is it? The word leniency, I guess, maybe that he gets there.
Well, first, he said this Michigan game is going to be a great barometer for what this Texas team could be or will be in 2024, right? He kind of mentioned that same, verbiage, a year ago going to Tuscaloosa to see if Texas had actually made that step into what was expected to be a title contending team. And evidently they did, right? To go against Michigan on the road, the defending national champions, who, to your point, Bobby, hasn't lost in Ann Arbor for quite some time now, will give Texas that great opportunity to be tested earlier once again. But with this 12-team playoff format, Sarkisian looks at it a little bit differently. He said, I love this early season marquee matchup for us. It's a great opportunity for us, again, to gauge where we're at as a football team without necessarily having a do or die situation going into the game, right? Maybe a year ago, if you lose in Alabama, your back's against the wall for the entire season, right? But as a result of winning that football game, you're still in control of your destiny, as Texas was. This year against Michigan, Sarkisian also mentioned, hey, these two teams, win or lose for either one, their season's not necessarily over. There's still plenty of avenues and ways in which both of them could still make the playoff if they lose week 2 of the regular season. That wasn't always the case. So for Texas to schedule these marquee games, and they'll be having Ohio State in 25 and 26, right, on the schedule. Sarkisian's a big fan of them, of course, to get those young guys and some of those new inexperienced guys on the field in a tough environment to go in later on to play the SEC. He says it's great for the team, it's great for the program, but also great for college football. So the 12-team playoff certainly helps Sarkisian love to schedule these games, Texas to schedule these games. He's a big fan of them, as should Texas fans, because when was the last time Texas played Michigan? What, about 20 years ago, Bobby? I think I was in diapers.
I was there. You may have been in diapers. I was there, baby, in the Rose Bowl. A lot of fun that evening. Dusty Mangum with a game-winning kick. Just a tremendous, tremendous game. Hey, CJ, if we get anything like that, by the way, up in Ann Arbor this weekend, the people that watch it on TV or go to the game, they'll remember it for a lifetime, because I sure do. Hey, closing thoughts you had from Sark's presser today, or anything else that you would like to add before we let people go here?
Yeah, on the defensive line, I know Sarkisian he used the word leaky at times a little bit to describe the rush defense. He said, looking back, I actually thought that they did a pretty solid job. There were a couple guys that he pointed out, Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins. He said they play well. They normally always do. What we saw on Saturday is what we've seen in the past leading up to this season. Said Jermaine Lole showed us some things. And then, quote, for Alex January, he was a pleasant surprise. So those were some of the defensive linemen that Sarkisian mentioned caught his eye in the rewatch and in some of the post-game evaluations. Of course, Texas will face a very run-heavy team, though. Hey, maybe Michigan, looking at their own offensive line and running game with some questions after that opener display against Fresno State. Of course, I'm sure that they will have some more exotic looks, detailed packages this weekend going up against Texas, much like Texas will on the defensive side of the ball as well.
All right, CJ Vogel will have more later today, actually momentarily, on TexasFootball.com. Join the discussion. Come join the community. Hang out with us on TexasFootball.com. Become an OG by using the code OTFOG.com. I want to end with this, because it's a great example of what we got right now from our head coach at the Longhorns versus where they're dealing with some others. And this, got to ask you this, CJ, from Q&A. I do know this. Sark wasn't slamming no tables like Brian Kelly was last night, or struggling to open his Dasani bottle like Billy Napier on Saturday. That's for sure. You get the feel that Sark was confident. Did you just feel like this was a typical presser for him, and it's game week and he's in season? Any extra feelings like that?
Yeah, we know Sarkisian's confident about this team. We saw him laughing and joking a little bit with us media members during the press conference as well. So I don't think he's struggling at any point to display some of that confidence. Of course, the depth and the talent and the speed of this team has been on display already this year. He knows about it. I think he's ready to lead these guys into Ann Arbor and come away with a victory.
Oh, let's see it. All right, that's going to be CJ Vogel. He'll be back this afternoon at 3:15 or so with the winning drive himself. Rod Babers, as well as Coach Bob Shipley. That will be doing it for today. Live reaction from Steve Sarkisian's presser. Longhorns headed to Ann Arbor this week. For CJ Vogel, I'm Bobby Burton. Thanks also to our producer, Matthew Hutchins. Welcome.